Hey, alchemists, did you know that there is a spiritual law that pivots us out of lack consciousness, where we believe life happens to us, and into abundance consciousness, where we believe that life happens through us, for us, and as us, right? This is the consciousness of love, big cosmic love, source giving as much of itself to us as we can receive, right? So whether we can receive a little or whether we can receive a lot, that is what source gives us. Now, this law that can pivot us out of lack consciousness and into abundance consciousness is called the law of spiritual equivalence. It's also known as the law of mental equivalence. Now, an equivalent just means that two things are alike in significance and value, even though they may not look the same. You may sell a silver ring in trade for money, right? And the money does not look like the silver ring, but they are equivalent in value. So we want to recognize the power of the spiritual equivalent. And we want to recognize this because in the Hebrew creation myth, we are told that we are created in the image and likeness of our Creator. And this is not a physical likeness. This is a spiritual likeness, meaning that we create as our Creator, right? We're equivalent to our Creator in how we create. We may look different and we may do it differently. Okay, but there is a spiritual equivalent there. The Western mystic Emmett Fox said, "It is your duty to express God to the utmost of your power." And that's really our purpose while we are on this planet and on playground Earth. Our purpose is to create as our Creator, right? To be as God created us, to be that spiritual equivalent of Source. So, how can the law of equivalence help us pivot from lack to love to be as God created us, right? Now, Emmett Fox also said, the law of mind is that you can only get rid of one thought by substituting another thought. Now, we can't claim both abundance and poverty at the same time, right? We can't claim health and sickness. I heard a Wayne Dyer story years ago on one of his PBS specials, and he's talking about running into a friend of his who was sick. And he asked his friend, well, oh my gosh, how long have you been sick? And the guy says, well, in 5 days, it'll be a week, right? So I love this story because it did kind of point out to me where I would claim health by affirming good health, but at the same time, I was walking around talking about how sick I felt, right? We cannot claim opposite things at the same time. Okay, so we want to make God's nature our nature. So how can we do that? Well, step one, we want to become invested in our awareness. Now, many spiritual seekers will start off in bystander consciousness. And I mean, that's a lot of us, right? We think, oh my gosh, there's so much happening. I don't feel like I can do anything about it. But then something happens and suddenly we just become invested in our own awareness. We understand in a moment, wow, we don't know what we don't know, right? And this is where we start becoming invested in our awareness. Now, many years ago, when my children were pretty young, we used to go to this, a local town called Idlewild. And it was just a beautiful little town in the mountains, and we would go up there. I want to say my kids were maybe 4 and 6. And we would always go we'd have lunch, do some shopping, go to a little place called the Candy Cupboard, go to the coffee house, and then go home. And one day we were going to the Candy Cupboard, and my kids saw a little girl come walking out of the store. Excuse me. And this little girl had one of those chocolate dipped ice creams where, it's a vanilla ice cream, you dip it in chocolate, and then you roll it in other things. And this little girl's ice cream had been rolled in rainbow sprinkles. Of course, to a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, this is like the most amazing thing, right? And so we went into the store and they wanted to order this. And so the gal working there, she's like, hey, how can I help you? And my kids are like, we want ice cream and rainbow sprinkles. Well, I saw this chalkboard, and on the chalkboard was written all of the other things available besides rainbow sprinkles, right? I mean, really, rainbow sprinkles, they're just colored wax. I mean, it's not like they even taste great. They just look really fun. So I'm trying to tell my kids, hey, you know what else they have? No, we want rainbow sprinkles, but they've also got, no, we want rainbow sprinkles. So I was like, okay, fine, right? If it makes them happy, makes them happy. So they get the rainbow sprinkles and we go outside, we sit down, they're eating their ice cream and they are so happy and they're just enjoying it so much until they see this other guy come walking out of the candy cupboard and his ice cream had been rolled in, I want to say, M&Ms, chocolate chips, and marshmallows. And my kids just stared at that guy's ice cream. So my kids, the next time we went to the candy cupboard, the next time we went to Idlewild, we go into the candy cupboard and my children say, okay, Mommy, you tell us everything that can go on an ice cream. Okay, it was at that point we became aware you could also get a piece of cheesecake dipped in chocolate and rolled in all those fun things. So before, my kids didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't know about all the other things available besides rainbow sprinkles, right? But they became more aware. Okay, they started having more awareness, but then when they saw that other guy with that ice cream, they realized, okay, now it's time to start asking questions and receive information about what is available. Now, if we are in bystander consciousness and we're not invested in our own awareness, we won't understand there's more available to us than meets the eye. We don't know what we don't know. And we don't know all the ways that Source can work in our lives. Now, in this law of equivalence, we are designed to create as our creator. So in making God's nature our nature, we become the equivalent of Source, right? So step 1 here is just becoming invested in our awareness. Step 2 is we learn to give like God. Now, this is God's nature, is givingness, right? Source energies. Nature is givingness, right? It is giving of itself. It's defined even as love, right? Or Source gives itself to its creations for the purpose of creation. Okay, so Source is giving itself to the entire field of consciousness, to all of creation, no matter what. So this love, it is inclusive. This love rejects nothing because all are its creations. Now, when we give like God, it means we love like God, right? Recognizing that all is connected, right? This is the importance of the lesson of love each other, right? As Christ loved, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And why love is free from condemnation and fear. It is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. This is from Ernest Holmes. Love is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. So Source, it just gives and gives. It does not condemn our choices. Even when we fail to honor the divine, Source still gives through us in a constant state of expansion. And we cannot stop it working through us. Okay, we can't. We just can't even stop it. No matter how many bad decisions we make, it still keeps working through us. Now, Charles Fillmore said that love is the great healing and harmonizing power of the universe. So when We give like God. When? We love like God. We set all of these creative forces in motion. And now we start seeing God in everyone. And we see God as everywhere present. We see the activity of God as in all things. Like the next solution, I mean, it could come from anywhere, literally, because Source is an everywhere present force. So here is our call to action this week. I'm going to tell you our affirmation, then if you want to say it with me. I am the way of love in this world. I am the way of love in this world. I am the way of love in this world. I am the way of love in this world. You know, we come into this life with a kind of spiritual amnesia. And then as we gain awareness, we start developing these skills to become an alchemist. As we are gaining awareness, we understand more and more that we don't know what we don't know. And so we don't know what we don't know, but we also know there's more available to us than we can imagine. So we're developing these skills to become an alchemist. So given the hand that we are dealt, we understand. All right, what can I do with this? Can I change it? Maybe yes, maybe no. If I can't change it, can I rise above it? Right? And this is the power of being the spiritual equivalent of Source. We become an alchemist. So here's an invitation if you want to think about that, right? We are all of us invested, I think. I mean, I really think if somehow you're watching this video and you've gotten this far, you must be invested in increasing your awareness and expanding your consciousness, right? Because this is a choice that we are making. We choose to rise, right? We choose to rise above things. We choose to transform things, right? And so why are we doing this, right? We think about that. Why are we doing this right now? Why are we invested in our awareness? And it's because we want to expand our territory. It's because we want to call forth greater things. We want to be a rising tide in the package of our life and create as our creator. And so all this week, we can ask ourselves, like, am I giving to all of creation with a loving heart? Right? Can I give like God? Can I love like God without rejecting? Can I be inclusive in giving, right? And sharing? And can I show up for myself? Can I show up for myself this week? Right? Am I actually invested? Am I invested right now in giving with a loving heart? You know, sometimes the answer might be no. Right? We can be tempted in these times when we see something on social media that's political. You know, we might find ourselves getting offended and not wanting to be so loving to that person. But see, we can also remember that even when we don't want to give with a loving heart, remember, it's like love your neighbor as yourself, meaning that the people around us are our teachers, right? And we're learning to love God and all people. Right? We may not be crazy about their political beliefs, right? We may not be crazy about their spiritual or religious beliefs. We're loving God in all people. We're loving Source in all people. We rise to be like Source, right? To be that spiritual equivalent. We give of ourselves and of spirit, and we give to all of its creations to be the spiritual equivalent of Source. So that we see life as a mystic, that God is all things, everything that's ever been, everything that's yet to be, and within every single person. God is all things, and that means each of us, and it also means our ideas and the inspirations that come to us. When we understand this, then we can live life as an alchemist, knowing that it is within our power to change, to rise above. Because this is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are designed to give like God. You are designed to love like God. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed. And so it is. We'll see you next time.